Hello, Wargamers! I'm Invasive Ramnus, and there's just a few short days until the much-anticipated release of the Tau Empire Codex for 6th edition. So, since the Codex is not yet available, I figured I'd do just a short video going over the pre-orders, the new models, and just providing some brief thoughts on those. So this is just the, like I said, the pre-order page on the Games Workshop website. Not a whole lot of information available here, just the models and the prices like you would expect. Of course, they showcase the new White Dwarf, which people have covered in other videos, and of course there are other videos like this one as well. The new Shadow Sun book, which is an interesting addition to the release, seeing as there's not a lot of Tau Empire novels. Really, they're mostly from the perspective of the Imperium, and so this is going to be an interesting addition to the Black Library, just because it's from the perspective of a Tau versus a human. So that'll be nice. And yeah, so let's get to it. There's the special edition Tau Codex, which seems to have a picture of a new broadside and a new pilot suit. They got a special jacket that has the new Riptide, which looks amazing in this picture. I really like the detail on it. Looks really nice. I could do with a little bit more color on this. I think that it's pretty bland, and would be nicer if it had some color on it. But yeah, $100 for that. Not really something I'm going to invest in. Like I said, I'm really excited about Tau, but I do not need the special edition book to appreciate them. Alright. And then they have a bunch of these one-click bundles that aren't really, you really don't get any savings on those. They're just to save you the 2 minutes that it would take to select the models yourself. But it does save kind of like a cool picture of a bunch of models at once. You wouldn't normally see this. So this is just kind of a nice visualization of all the models at one time, so that's kind of cool. Alright, and then they have the armies that are featured in the battle report and the White Dwarf. Now finally get into the good stuff. Here's the new Codex. I really like the cover art on this. I know everyone has really enjoyed the new 6th edition hardcover Codex cover art. Dark Angels, Chaos Demons, Chaos Space Marines, and now Tau all have wonderful imagery on the front of these books. It's much more reasonable to pay $50 for a Codex if the cover doesn't look like complete crap. So so I'm all right with that. Personally, I really would have enjoyed the new Enforcer suit if they would have posed it like it's posed on the cover here. I think it's a much more dynamic pose, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes when I get to the Enforcer model. But really am super excited about this, and of course it's 104 pages, just like all the other codices that have been released. They give you just a brief preview of what's in here. It looks like it has a lot of real nice detail on the inside, very colorful. Very excited to open that up, and of course once I get a copy of it, I will be doing a overview, a skim through, highlighting some of my favorite parts of the Codex, and hopefully that will be this upcoming weekend that I will do that. I'm definitely going to be pre-ordering the Codex. The Codex is going to be the only thing that I'm pre-ordering, though, simply because I don't know the rules for anything else. I love the Riptide suit. I love the new Broadside suit. I definitely want to get models of those. I definitely want to get a flyer, but seeing as my money, like everyone else's, is limited, I want to make sure that I spend my money where it's going to do the most good for my army, but also for giving me the enjoyable time that I spend painting it and constructing it too. So yeah, I gotta kind of weigh those things, but yeah, I'm definitely prioritizing a Riptide and a flyer if the rules are not completely terrible. But yeah. Okay. speaking of the Riptide, that's the next guy that they have on here. So the Riptide looks great in all the pictures that we've seen so far. I know some people have a problem with the head being too small. Really, the head doesn't bother me because if you're thinking about it really just being a sensor and not an actual head, it makes sense that it doesn't necessarily need to be very large. The thing that struck me when I first saw this model wasn't that the head was tiny. The two things that stuck out to me are that the one arm seems to be way heavier than the other, right? So the gun arm, let's just pull up the 360 here. The gun arm seems to have a lot more mass to it than the shield arm, and so it's kind of awkward, right? It has a little bit too much weight on here, and so you'd think that would be always walking with like a little bit of a more weight on one leg than the other. It's got a little bit of a pimp walk here. I'm going to call this the pimp tide. But yeah, so it's a lot of mass in this arm and not as much on this arm. And then the other thing that I noticed is that this, as opposed to every other Tau model, this is very this is a lot more smooth right here along the leg plates. It's not as square as the Crisis Suit legs, and so that really stuck out as well. And then of course they have the feet that this type of bracketed foot, as opposed to just the clean foot that's on the Crisis Suit is something you see in some Forge World models. I mean, it's not a huge deal. It's not anything that really stands out. It's a nice little extra detail on a suit that you're paying $85 for, so I say go for it. I've also seen people talk about these. There's some sort of servo thing or some sort of gear, but some people have claimed that they think that they are Tau symbols. I don't think that's the case. I think there's some sort of mechanical component. I think most people will probably agree with me on that. That's not meant to be necessarily for. It's not meant to be ornamental. It's meant to be actual functioning component that might change how these thrusters are positioned. Like you could imagine that the big one would change the direction of the entire jetpack thruster, whereas the smaller ones lower down might position the individual thruster or something like that. Interesting. Something I noticed here on the back, it's not symmetrical. There's two exhaust ports or something like that on the back of the right side of the suit, whereas there's just one. I think that's an interesting choice. All the other suits, for the most part, have been symmetrical. The Crisis suits have slightly different details on the front of them to make them not symmetrical, but nothing that's such a structurally noticeable thing like this. Again, it's nice to have deviations in a model that you're paying $85 for, so I can live with that. Yeah, and then personally, I think that this shoulder pad up here would probably make more sense on the side that doesn't have the shield on it, but whatever. The heavy burst cannon that it comes standard with, it has 6 barrels as opposed to just the 4 that the normal burst cannon comes with, even though when you look at it from the side, you can kind of get... Yeah, anyway, something that I thought was interesting that I haven't really seen anyone talk about, though, is that the plasma rifles on the Riptide, on the Pimp Tide, and the new Enforcer suit are slightly different than the plasma rifles made available through the standard Crisis suits. They have a little bit different detailing on them. They have these brackets along the base of it, even though the general shape of the weapon itself is the same. I think that's a nice touch. It breaks it up a little bit more. It doesn't make it seem quite as plain or phallic. I don't know. That's always been something that's stuck out to me. Is just that they're very plain looking weapons. I think that breaks it up a little bit, makes it look a little bit more technologically advanced. And then of course there is a bunch of different support systems that the multi-tracker looks slightly different, things like that. All right, enough about the Pimp Tide. Alright, the next thing is that the Tau Crisis battlesuits have been repackaged into a group of 3, just like you see with Necron Race or other things like that. They come in a group of 3, but it's actually at a discount. Normally they're $25 each. When you buy 3 now, though, you get $10 off. I can live with that. That's great. Of course, there's a downside that you do have to buy 3 of them, so you can't really partition, your spending. You can't spread out your purchases quite like you used to. But hey, you're still getting $10 off, and if you're running suits, you're probably going to run them in a group of 3 anyway. So, not terrible. All right, not a lot to say about that though. It's the same suit, and some people are upset that they haven't been recut, but I can live with having to use the same suits if I get new suits like the Pimp Tide or the Broadside to kind of balance out the fact that I'm still going to have to use the same Crisis suits. And who knows, with the new Codex, maybe Crisis suits aren't as big of a deal. I'm not going to be fielding 9 of them, 12 of them like I used to. So, having a model that isn't brand spanking new is not the end of the world. All right, the next thing that a lot of people have been talking about is the bomber and the fighter. We'll just pull up the bomber here. I think it's a little bit more interesting of a model just because it... actually, no, I take that back. I don't know if it's more interesting or not. But, when the first pictures dropped of this, I thought... I told the manager at my friendly local gaming store that they looked atrocious. I could not believe that they looked so bad. And the reason for that is because it was looking at an angle similar to this one here, where you see that the main portion of the hull is pretty big and bloated. It looks very large, and then you have just a little tiny back piece here where everything seems to kind of get stretched out. It seemed very front heavy, and that really did not appeal to me. It looked a lot like you took a devilfish and put some wings on it, and that was it. I was not very happy, but the more I see it, the more I think that it looks pretty darn sweet. I really like the top-down view. I'll show you guys that in a little bit, but I really like the top-down view. I like the side view too. I think it makes a lot more sense when you look at it from the side than it does when you're looking at it kind of from the front up. It does not look as bloated as it did originally. And so you can build it possibly you can build it either as a bomber or a fighter. The bomber has this type of instrument here that is supposed to generate some sort of ion bomb, and then drops it down and causes some damage below. It also has a missile system that's meant to defend the bomber, and it has these 2 interceptor drones that you can see here that have some sort of ion weapon. And I'm really excited to test this and the fighter out. It really is going to come down to points cost, I think, or the weapons profiles. We'll have to see. There hasn't been a whole lot of rumors about what exactly the profiles on these fighters or on their armaments are, and so we'll have to see what those look like. But the fighter, of course, does not have the missiles in back here. It has a quad ion gun and slung underneath here. That's a turret that has 360 degree firing arc, and it does not have these interceptor drones, but it does have smart seeker missiles loaded in the hull here, which between the fighter and the broadsides and the Skyray, I think we're going to see a lot more use of seeker missiles in the new Codex. I know personally I haven't used them since 4th edition, and even then I did not use them very often. I just tried them out a few times. They have never been a major part of my army, but the fact that they're popping up everywhere seems to suggest that they might be important in this new Codex. But of course we'll find out on Saturday and in the days, weeks, months, and years to come. So, yeah. Not a whole lot more to say about this. The last thing I will say about the flyers is that they do seem to be pretty small, right? I mean, so this is the flying stand here. It seems to be pretty small statured compared to a lot of the other flyers, which I think that's kind of cool. It's like, it makes it a little bit different. But yeah, not a lot to say. I do like, if you look at the fighter, this looks a little bit different, obviously, but I do like how there's kind of like a little bit of an access point back here into the vehicle, and then there's some detailing up inside here too. That looks pretty nice. And the stabilizers that are on the side here, let's get out of that. Stabilizers that are on the side here, that looks a little crooked there. That's kind of, I wonder if that's supposed to be straight. I don't know. The stabilizers, they're growing on me too. I can deal with it. I think it probably would look a lot better if they had the back wings here at a slightly flatter angle, so that they weren't jutting straight down. And I don't quite understand why they have the crossbars here. I think it probably has something. I think it's probably something to do with that it would look too 1940s World War II era bomber if they didn't have that. I think that the profile would be really familiar if these weren't here, and that could be a downside if you're trying to go for a exotic Xenos look to the craft. And so I can understand why they put that there. I don't know if it was the best choice or not, but yeah, so it's growing on me. All right, let's move back to these guys. All right, so they just repackaged the Skyray and the Hammerhead. Not a lot to say there. Of course, with a little bit of a price increase, but right now I have two Hammerheads. I don't have a Skyray, so I kind of hope that the Skyray is not amazing. I don't want to spend the money to either buy a new turret or a whole new kit. Especially with the new GW trade agreement, it might be a little bit more difficult to get a turret. So yeah, I can deal with the Skyray not being the superstar of heavy support for Tau. I'd be okay with that. Something that I never quite got with the GW posing of the Hammerhead, though, is that they leave the feet down even when it's skimmering, when it's floating around like skimmers do. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Whenever I assemble a tank like this, unless it's a Devilfish, I have cut the feet off, cut the support for the feet off, and then just glued the feet onto the bottom of the hull, so it is much more streamlined. It doesn't have these feet just hanging down. Really that just makes it seem like those feet are just waiting to be taken off by like a tall rock or something, or a bush or whatever. So I have those retracted into the hull of the vehicle. But yeah, not a lot to say there. New broadside. Amazing. I think interesting choice to have this green Tau suit on the front, but super cool that they have the option to take seeker missiles, which is just kind of neat. Like I said, we'll see how those turn out. But the option to have just missiles everywhere. Yo, dog, I heard you like missiles, so I got missiles for it, and I got missiles on your missiles so you can missile while you're missiling. Sorry, that was probably really terrible and outdated, but doesn't make it not true. So super awesome, though, that they have interchangeable heads. I love this. Part of the thing with the Chapter House lawsuit was that they have alternative Tau crisis suit heads. I think this might be a little bit of a way for GW to prevent that. The heads on the broadside crisis suit and the pimp tide all are all interchangeable. I don't know why you would put a crisis suit head on either of these two new fantastic models, but if you want to, you could. More importantly, though, you can use a broadside head on a crisis suit or a pimp tide head on a broadside. Whatever you'd like, you can do it, and it looks awesome. So these new missile systems too, really going to be interesting to see what the weapon profile is on that. I'm just imagining again, I don't think it's not a big secret. Tau lend heavily from an Asian anime kind of Gundam type aesthetic, and I can just imagine 50 missiles flying off of one of these things and just pulverizing a tank or a unit of guys or whatever. And so that would be really sweet, especially if they are able to do this supportive fire thing, which we understand to be that units within 6 inches or something like that can also do overwatch with the unit being assaulted. So if you have one of these guys next to your fire warriors and he's allowed to perform supporting fire, you could really imagine that they're going to be a lot more effective in their overwatch shot because of just the sheer number of high strength, possibly, or equal strength shots coming off of a missile broadside like this. Looking at the standard heavy rail rifle broadside, that is basically what I'll be using my old broadsides as, unless I need to switch them out for missile broadsides. I think it looks great. I love the leg right here. I think it looks very mechanical. Very you can imagine that there's a lot of weight on this leg. It looks like it's very spring loaded, taking a lot of burden from this massive gun, and you can imagine it successfully holding back from any type of recoil. Even though in real life, my understanding is that rail guns don't have a recoil just because of the nature of how they accelerate their projectiles. But another cool thing is this hang down piece here. I did not notice that. They have the special reactor that supposedly is supposed to allow them to do the amazing things they do. And so I really love the detail back here. This is going to be interesting in paint, especially because this type of design here is a nice contrast to just kind of the wall of Tau that you see in front. I think that's going to be really nice to paint, and I think it's a beautiful looking model. Again, I love the new heads, and I also really like this shoulder mount here. I think that's a lot more interesting than having one on either side. I like having this kind of coherent, cohesive mount for this twin-linked weapon. It really makes them seem twin-linked instead of just being two separate weapons, which is nice. And then something else that I've been noticing that's popped up here and in the Riptide and some other places is these type of aerials here that used to be, they look a lot like the aerials on the sniper drone teams, which I think is cool. I'm not sure if there's an explanation for that or if that's just kind of like, hey, these things are cool. We have them in other models. Let's include them on this model too. So that'll be interesting. I'm guessing that this thing right here is probably going to be the upgrade that allows you to skyfire. Just based on how it looks, it has some sort of like laser, so you can imagine that would be something that'll allow you to skyfire. But yeah, I like the gun. The guy that designed these is the same guy that had all those conversions with the arm-mounted railguns that a lot of people are seeing, and he's also the guy that obviously sculpted the Oshava model from Games Day a few years ago. So yeah, love the new broadside model. It does look like it's on a larger base, on a 60mm base, whereas the current broadsides are not. So depending on who you're playing with and how serious you guys are, you might want to change your bases. I will be. I've had some people tell me that you're not supposed to do that, although I haven't. That you're supposed to play the model on the base that it came with. I think that might be a little bit of a stretch. That I think you should base it on the base that the current rule set applies to. But yeah, so awesome model. Super excited to get one of these if I need to. I'm looking for an excuse to get one of these. Basically, very excited. All right. I'm going to try to go through these last few in one go here, just because there's probably not a ton to say about them, or maybe there is. But yeah, so So the new Pathfinders look pretty awesome. Again, they're plastic; they're not metal or fine cast like the current ones, and that's nice. They come with the option to have these new. They're the rail rifles. Okay, whatever. That guy. They come with a new option to do these ion special weapons. The ion version of a rail rifle, supposedly. That's cool. So I mean, it kind of suggests. Not only with having the ability to take two different types of special weapons, but also the ability to, or not necessarily the ability, but the fact that they come in a group of 10, just right out of the box, suggests that they're going to, you're going to field them in larger numbers. They're not going to be just a marker light source, like they would be. You wouldn't take 10 Pathfinders just to do marker lights, and the fact that they have these awesome new drones that do all sorts of mysterious things right now. We don't know exactly what they do, but they look like they're going to be really interesting. I'm hoping that either they're going to be something that are exclusive to Pathfinders, like this. I'm pretty sure that this recon drone here, the big drone that goes into the Devilfish, is something that's exclusive to Pathfinders. But these other types of drones, I'm hoping that they're either exclusive to Pathfinders or there's going to be a different way to get them, either like through a like a bit sprue or something like that you can get these. Get the parts to make these new types of drones, because I think they're very interesting and I'd rather not have to convert them. But yeah, so I can definitely see Pathfinders taking on a more specialist role instead of just being a source for marker lights. I don't think that that's a novel insight at all. But it'll be very exciting to see how they function on the battlefield. Again, here's the new recon drone that looks awesome. It does have a burst cannon on it, but there has to have some other sort of function. Probably something to do with deep striking and things like that would be my guess. And then here are the other two types of drones that work to augment their abilities. So we will see how those turn out. I'm excited to possibly be fielding Pathfinders again, just because I don't field them currently. I rely on my Eldar allies for improving my shooting ability. But if I could rely on Pathfinders instead, that'd be cool. I could live with that. All right. The Cadre Fireblade looks like he's just going to be an upgrade character that you can that's in the HQ section. Has some sort of ability to possibly allow Fire Warriors to fire 3 shots instead of 2 within rapid fire range, or 2 shots outside of rapid fire range. Has a network marker light, I believe, or something on his rail rifle here, and then of course he's holding a bonding knife. Very cool model. We'll pull this guy up. I like the cloak. I think that's a nice touch. Gives him a little bit of distinction, but it does feel a little Imperial. Not very Xenos-y. You don't really see a lot of cloaks with the Tau in any of the art previously. You do see the Ethereals Ethereals being dressed in cloth, but not really a cloak as it's portrayed here. He's got kind of a funny mouth. He's kind of talking out of the side of his mouth or shouting. I hope that's just kind of a weird cast here or something like that. I'm not a big fan of his mouth. It's really kind of bothering me. The more I notice it I don't like it. And then the shoulder pad. I love shoulder pads. It's one of the really cool things about Tau is their shoulder pads. The shoulder pad is on top of the cloak, which I don't understand. Like, how is it attached to the armor underneath, unless there's like a hole in the cloak? And I don't know. So that's kind of weird. But I feel like this would get in the way more than it would help. But he does have extra armor, which is very cool. Seems very much like a chapter master type guy. I do like the back of the armor here. It has a little bit of a I know it's not a headrest, but it kind of seems like a headrest that you have like in your car, right? But this type of thing, which you have on the crisis suits, is nice to see that replicated in other forms of Tau armor. So there's again coherency, a logic that goes throughout. I don't know if that's necessarily logical or not, but something that's consistent between different types of models is very nice. And again, he comes on a base, which is great for me because I hate basing. Again, I like painting because it allows me time to relax and just focus on one thing instead of having to think critically about my job or anything like that. And so painting is great, but basing sucks because it's not creative at all. It's not an expression for me. It's not relaxing. And so the fact that he comes on a base is a nice addition for me. I was thinking about picking up one of these guys on launch before reading the Codex, but I figured I'd rather spend $20 on possibly getting an Oshava model instead. And so I'm not going to be picking him up. I'm just going to be pre-ordering and picking up the Codex on release day, but who knows? Maybe this guy's going to be making it in my army. He's a great model. I really like it, and he's a nice addition. I'll skip these two for now. I'll come back to them in just a minute. We'll talk about the two other new characters which have made it into the Tau Empire. First one's Longstrike. He's a special tank upgrade that you can take that gives supposedly the tank ability to overwatch and stuff like that. Not a lot to say about it. It's kind of like, well, it already comes with a passenger. I would just assume proxy, or the tank already comes with a guy popping out of the hatch. I would assume just proxy it instead of having to pay $16 for a fine cast guy. But we'll see. We'll see how awesome or unawesome this guy is. But not a lot to see there. He does have a suit, a new type of battle suit, which is interesting that they call it a battle suit. But he's portrayed in the size comparison chart where it has like a fire warrior and a crisis suit and a stealth suit and a broadside and a riptide. And now it also has this type of battle suit. And so it's just interesting. It's not a lot to say about that. Darkstrider is the other newly introduced special character. He's a Pathfinder. A lot of people thought that he was a woman at first, at least based on the comments that I've read on sites like Fate 212, which is a great website. I'm sure most of you have visited it at least once. But again, it has that cool back headrest thing, and a little bit of that same type of aerial that we saw on the sniper drone team before. Some nice detailing. I do like how the marker light on this pulse carbine has some optical thing on it. It's not just a bar. It has some sort of thing coming out of it, which is cool. It has some sort of aerial here as well, and more little buttons and stuff. That's neat. It has a different armor than the Fire Warriors have, which is nice. And the most interesting thing about this model is that it has this new type of sensor that's supposed to make firing on either infantry or vehicles or something more effective. I've heard people say that it reduces toughness by 1 or something like that. I could see it possibly doing increasing the AP of a shot by 1 or reducing the armor value of something by 1, something like that. But it's supposed to, the fluff is that it points out weaknesses in the enemy's armor. So hopefully that's something worth taking because it's a cool model. I like the cloth additions that this guy, the Fire Cadre Fireblade and Oshava all have. I like it, just makes them more dynamic, which is nice. All right, and now the two new battle suits that I'm super excited for. I really hope that I get a chance to pick at least one of these up. Of course, it might be one or the other, but I'm super excited for it. All right, so we'll do the Battlesuit Commander and the new Enforcer armor first. I really wish they had a 3... Oh, they do. Okay, yeah, sorry. Never mind. But it has lots of new details that they highlight in these shots. I think it's interesting that they included the double aerial that Oshava used to have in the old model on this model, which is very cool. I really like the new legs. It has these two little pips on either side of the knee, which I think are inspired by the old Forge World units. It has actually an external bonding knife, which is interesting. You know, it used to be that Crisis suits didn't actually carry a bonding knife, so it's interesting that this suit actually carries a real bonding knife, and it's not something that's just a decal on the outside. Here's the a different multi-tracker. It has more detail in it. It's not this broken up aerial here. It has a little dot and a pip, which the pip is the same, but it has a slightly different angle here, different cuts, but this same bottom part is the same, or the bottom part is still the same. The new AFP is way better than the old one. I liked using the AFP on my Crisis Commander because it gave me some AOE abilities, but it didn't it was just such an awkward model. Like it had three like a triangular type front, and then it had this weird little rod that stuck up on top of it. That it was just awkward. It didn't look very functional or anything like that. It was awkward. And of course, mine was metal, so it was slightly miscast and bent and stuff like that. It's not something that I can repair easily, like something with a fine cast model where you can just put in a little bit of glue or a little bit of liquid green stuff. So really like this new AFP model. And then here is pictured the new Cyclic Ion Blaster, which I don't use, but I do like this new model. Then a big thing is that it actually has hands, which Crisis suits have always had hands. They've just been retracted inside the arms. Here it's actually the hands are extended. I'm not sure why they're extended here and not on the Crisis suits. Maybe if they redid the Crisis suits, they would actually have hands that are extended. But it's not like this Crisis suit is really doing anything with his hands, except for maybe here he's pointing at something, which is interesting. An interesting choice, seeing as he supposedly is communicating with his team through audio communications and not pointing at stuff. But you know what? It makes for an interesting model, and I am all for that. It is fine cast, which makes me think it's not going to be very posable. I have seen some people suggest that they're going to be slightly posable. I don't think that's the case. I think it's going to be this is what it is, and you just put on the weapons that you want to use. And as I said at the beginning of the video, I really wish that they would have posed this guy as he's posed on the cover art for the new Codex. I think this is kind of awkward. Like he's supposed to be coming, landing his jetpack right here, and just kind of I don't know if he's supposed to be taking a shot or looking or what, but there's obviously some movement implied by the model, which is really nice. I like that part about it, but I wish the arm was pointed in a way that it looked like he was landing with purpose. If his right arm was extended towards the direction that he's landing, I think that'd be a really nice effect where he could be, you can imagine him shooting at something. He's landing and shooting at something at the same time, whereas he's just kind of landing and thinking about something, which is an interesting choice on the sculptor's part. Again, here's the new Cyclic Ion Blaster, which takes some nice imagery from the ion cannon. It has this three-pointed barrel and this D-shaped where the stuff comes out. I can't remember what the barrel, the D-shaped barrel, I guess, where the actual business comes out of the weapon, like on the ion cannon mounted on the hammerhead. So that's nice. I really like how this weapon is designed, and again, I like how the new AFP is really designed. It has actual shells that are loaded down in here and a shot out there, and I like having it mounted on the back slope of the pack like this. It makes sense if it's lobbing these things over the enemy. I like that. So there's that guy. He looks pretty sweet. I do like the new jetpacks. I like how these are separated a little bit more than the old ones. Than the standard Crisis jetpacks. They look sleeker. They look like they have a little bit more punch to them, and they're not quite as heavy. And then this new back piece here also looks nice. Something that I didn't mention in the on the Pimp Tide part of this video or on the broadside part is that they actually changed the balls, the ball and socket for the leg, which is nice. The standard crisis suit just has this ball, and then you put it in the socket, and then that's it. It doesn't really, like, I always think about, okay, how does this actually work? Is there like some casing that shifts as the leg moves, or how is this attached to the rest of the body? Here it looks like there's actually some sort of, you can imagine some sort of mechanical logic for how this leg attaches to the torso and moves, and it also breaks up the model. It's not just a bland, like just a smooth surface, which I think is really important. Like the crisis suits and the old stealth suits have a lot of just bland, smooth surfaces that could be enhanced with little details like this to make them a lot nicer models. So yeah, I really want to get one of these guys, but if I'm not forced to, seeing as if it has the same weapon loadout and everything as my current Crisis Commander, he'll be low down on my list of things to get, even though he is a super awesome model. I really want to get one of these guys and field it and paint it up and show it to you guys. So we'll see. Especially if I don't get something like a Riptide or a Flyer because they suck, I'll get one of those. And finally, Commander Farsight. He's always someone that's interests me. The color scheme is very similar to my standard Tau color scheme. I responded to my last video detailing that I actually came up with the color scheme before seeing Farsight, basically due to I was painting Wood Elves at the time, and there's a lot of greens and browns in that, obviously, and I was like, okay, well, I want something that's not green and brown. Well, let's do red. Okay, red sounds great. What would be a nice contrast for red? Okay, how about gray? Yeah, that works. Okay, so started painting red and gray Fire Warriors, and then it gradually evolved into something that looked like Farsight, and then I saw Farsight, I'm like, hey, that looks pretty sweet. Good job me for coming up with a color scheme that someone else did already as well. But yeah, so the new Farsight model, very similar to the one that we saw in Games Day 2008 or 2009, can't remember. But yeah, here he is. They rearranged the model a little bit as far as like where everything is located, but obviously tremendous changes to the actual design of the suit, the feet, the legs, the jetpacks, the body, the head, the arms. Everything is completely different. Really like it. I like, again, the aerials that they have on the back of the suit right here. Sorry, that was freaking out on me. I love how these spiky bits here are awesome. It seems very, very Gundam-y to me. The feet are something that I could actually live without. They're my least favorite part about this model. I don't particularly like them. I would have preferred to see something a little bit more like the feet on the Forge World models, but hey, I can deal with that. I don't also quite understand why his Crisis head is segmented like that. But I can live with that. It looks nice, and his aerial is actually about the same size as the actual headpiece, which is interesting, and is a nice differentiation. The fact that the access port seems to be in front of the head here. If you notice in back, there's no access point in back like there is for the standard suits. It seems like Oshava actually enters the suit through this point here. I think that's really interesting. And then again, the shoulder pads and everything like that. The aerials on the shield are nice as well. Yeah, and I don't think he does. No, he has the standard plasma rifle, not the new one that you see on the Pimptide or the Enforcer model, which is more the broadsides, which I think is probably indicative of how early on this model was created, that they didn't include this new plasma rifle in it. And maybe that's just because they provide like a plastic plasma rifle with the rest of the fine cast bits. I don't know, but even then I would think that it would be one of the new plasma rifles because they're already providing something else. But yeah, really great model. I like the detail, the cloth. They in the White Dwarf article they talk about that a little bit, but the cloth adds a lot of movement to the model. You can really imagine him using his jetpack to close the gap, to get in there and just tear some face with his his blade. So that's going to be really sweet. I'm hoping that there's going to be a reason to take Oshava just because the model's so nice. I do wish they kind of would have changed the Oshava logo. They have this here and again on the Fire Warrior shoulder pads for the Oshava or Farsight Enclave. It's just not very appealing to me, but nonetheless, pretty. I can live with it. It's cool. That's his deal. I can, that's his sense of style. I can live with that. Again, just a great model. Love all the extra detail in this, and I'm really excited to see what his new rules are. Hopefully, maybe he's the way that you feel with more Crisis suits. I've heard that he does not make Crisis suits troop choices, but in the old codex he did allow you to take a very large retinue of Crisis suits, and so maybe that's how you take more Crisis suits if you're filling those slots with other unit choices like the Riptide. All right, so that's Oshava, Commander Farsight. Looks great. And I think that's about it. Again, here's the shoulder plates for the Farsight Enclave. As a whole, I'm really excited for this release. I had to make this video just because I'm so excited for the release, but there's nothing I can do. I'm just sitting here waiting. It's like waiting for a baby to be born. This is my baby. I'm waiting for the birth of my Tau babies. So we will see how that goes. I think it's interesting on the new release site, just on a side note, that they have the Hive Fleet from the battle report, and it's like it's not really a new release. It's just saving, whatever. So very cool. Excited to see what models demand my money the most. So like I said, this weekend I'll be picking up the Codex and giving you guys a run through of that. Not a detailed unit discussion, but just an overview of, hey, this is what the Codex looks like. Here's some interesting parts of it, that type of thing. And then following that, I will provide those detailed commentary on the units within it, and also probably update you guys on some Tyranids I've been painting while I've been waiting for the new Codex. So again, thank you for watching. I know that this has probably run a long time, and if you've stuck with me this whole time, congratulations. You deserve a certificate of excellence for your patience and interest in the Tau Empire. But please like the video if you are excited for the new Tau Codex. Let me know what you think about these models. Do you like the Pimp Tide? Do you like the fact that I call it the Pimp Tide? And B, do you like the model itself? What do you think about that heavy pimp hand down there? What do you think about the new flyers, new broadside, things like the new Enforcer suit or Oshava? And do you think it's really worth buying Long Strike? What do you think of that? Let me know what you think about any and all of those questions. And again, please subscribe. That will help me know that you are interested in what is going to be unfolding for me with the new Codex and stuff like that. So thanks for watching, and happy wargaming.